This Las Vegas Raiders team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is giving away $15 million. Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with SGPN to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections for the college football product and much more. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Really excited to be on the pirate ship today.
Yes,
Very
you are
excited.
on the pirate ship, Raiders themed. You got your Mike Leach,
A little pirate on my t-shirt.
swing your sword.
Yes.
Uh,
Who, by the
perfect.
way, having a nice 3-year-old season on the digital track.
Oh, Mike Leach, the horse.
No, swing your sword.
Oh,
the
swing your
horse.
sword,
Yes,
the horse.
very
Okay.
good name.
So always good to get a ponies update.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
to know where Ryan's head at. My head is all in on the National Football League, NFL, 32 NFL team previews. We are doing the phrase that pays, 1 word per episode. Put together a 32-word phrase. Send that in after you listen to all 32 NFL team previews. One lucky winner will get a $500 Circa ticket to this episode's phrase. For the Raiders team preview is Dallas.
Oh, whoa,
Dallas
whoa.
is this episode's code phrase, right? Code word.
Oh, wow. Are you sure?
Yes,
Like,
I
we
am.
double check.
Well,
Did you
it's-
pronounce it right?
It's a 32-word phrase. You'll have to stay tuned
Okay.
to figure out the entire 32 words.
You I just Dallas seems like an odd word for us to choose.
Well, see where the phrase turns, right?
I do have a digital horse named Dallas Sucks, so
Okay.
maybe it's something like that.
I love how you're always turning it back to the
No,
ponies.
just people, you did mention being locked in,
Yes.
and some people reached out to me concerned after your very reckless, lack of knowing ball, inflammatory take of Cortland Sutton greater than Malik Neighbors.
I don't know if I said greater.
It resulted in some public posts on X, some
Well,
DMs.
One guy angry,
Some
fellow
DMs
Giants fans
worried about where your head's at, your inability to be objective. He said keep the subjectivity to the Cowboys episodes, please. I mean, I will say maybe one of your worst takes, almost
Okay.
as bad as your Jalen Hurts draft night take.
That was a bad take.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts draft. Yes, but we'll see, Ryan. We'll see. I mean, Malik Neighbors is a rookie. He is not a proven commodity. I know you already have him as a green jacket player.
No.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
Gold jacket, motherfucker.
gold jacket. You're right. Oh, maybe he plays in the Masters.
Oh, that'd be nice. They let him in now.
All right. We got. All right. So looking at 2023, Raiders were 8-9 straight up, 10-6-1 ATS. We both had the Raiders going under last year. Their win total is 6.5. They cashed the over, thanks in part to Antonio Pierce. I mean,
Kind of nailed the handicap.
in my defense, and I think Kramer's defense, so far 5-2, 4-3. I'm 5-2, 4-3. Kramer from last year's win totals. Well, I think we kind of nailed the handicap on the team, and that was I am fading this Raiders team as long as Josh McDaniels is the
Yes.
head coach. So I like the under on their win total. Now they fired Josh McDaniels and they bring in Antonio Pierce. They rally around him, have a nice closing out of the season. But where are you at with this Raiders team? Because certainly what they did was special, rallying around Antonio Pierce, but I don't know how sustainable it is necessarily. Like their turnover differential was only -3.
Yeah, very healthy, very healthy.
Yeah, didn't lose a lot of games to injury. I think they're all starting 3 receivers. You know, you look at 51 games, they played 50, so there was only like 1 game missed between all 3 receivers. So I'm worried maybe
they murdered Daniel Jones last year.
They did. They ended Daniel Jones's season. I worry that the kind of mojo, the magic Antonio Pierce had towards the end of that second season or his season, filling in for Josh McDaniels. I'm wondering, can they fire that up? Can they pull that off again?
It's just the beginning.
Really?
I mean, it's there's been an unfortunate or fortunate a bit of chain of events, I'll call it,
okay,
that have led me to where I am today. But yeah, I mean, first off, Antonio Pierce seems and feels very perfect in a game where motivation is probably the difference between winning and losing in a lot of cases. 100%. They have a coach that, at least based on what the players were saying themselves last year, vote of confidence, wanting him to be the coach. The fact that he played for my New York Football Giants on a team coached by Tom Coughlin that, I don't know if you remember, but they overcame an undefeated Patriots team in the Super Bowl. It was a very good team, a lot of very good players. I'm sure there was a lot to be learned there, and you know he got some he worked his chops off in the college game. When they said no recruiting, he said screw that, I'm going to keep recruiting. Got him fired at Arizona State, but I like the hustle. I almost feel like we need to bring up the additions and such, because that's the real piece that got me excited personally.
Okay, so they drafted Brock Bowers. I don't know.
It happened before that.
Okay,
when they went out and got Gardner Minshew, I said, you know what's happening here? They're going out and getting another guy, so they have two guys. They figure one of them will be good enough. They're going to run the damn ball, and look at all the other reinforcements. Brought in some more receivers. Interesting. I thought they were going to run the damn ball. They go out and draft Brock Bowers. That shocks everybody. Luke Getsy
they
comes
wanted
in.
to draft Michael Penix, I think, and then we're shocked that the Falcons took him.
Possibly,
yeah.
But the pivot is, well, Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the league, loves Luke Getsy, very much in on that. And all I'm reading and hearing, again, not at practice, it does sound like a very, very not overtly, hey, the quarterbacks look good, like coach speak kind of stuff. Like everyone's like, yeah, things feel good. Like the players we have ready to get the season started. And it's a kind of confidence that I feel like across the board, even hearing some of the rookies talk, make me believe in this team. And it all comes back to Antonio Pierce. Cause when you watch Antonio Pierce, the player, he was an undersized, slow guy who managed to play in the NFL for a long time at the middle linebacker position. And there was one play on their Super Bowl run where he basically defeated three blockers to tackle a screen pass that would have easily been a touchdown. And that's it. Like, I'm in on Antonio Pierce to start. The players are clearly in on it. And for someone, we were excited about Luke Getsy when he got to Chicago. I'm not going to let Justin Fields soil what I thought about Luke Getsy then. And so excited about Luke Getsy in the offense, and that we didn't even discuss the fact that their defense should be one of the top units in the league.
I'm worried on the defensive side. I am worried about the back end for the Las Vegas Raiders. You mentioned Minshew. I like Minshew. He is a fun quarterback, but I don't. And I do think Minshew is going to end up winning the starting job. I just worry what Minshew's ceiling is. 15 and 22 career as a starter. He's usually a guy that comes in, nice relief work as a starter. 13 games in Indianapolis, 7-6 as a starter. I think the cast around him was pretty strong when he was succeeding. I liked Steichen's play calling a little bit better than what I expect them to have in Las Vegas. I am optimistic fantasy wise on Devontae Adams, on Zamir White, and on Brock Bowers. Zamir White also is completely jacked. They call the guy Zeus. So I think this offense will be able to move the ball. I think they'll be able to stay in some games, but some of the stuff they were doing late, you look at that Chiefs game, 2 defensive touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I think some of that stuff is going to be tough to replicate. And I think they were getting a nice juice from Antonio Pierce, which I think
does it have to end?
I think it's going to be not as hot as it was the first time, Ryan, because imagine you're in a horrible marriage. Then maybe you're stepping out and you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Then you actually get divorced. You're with the person you were stepping out on. Okay, it's good. But some of it was, I think some of their love of Antonio Pierce was, hey, at least it's not Josh McDaniels. It was very obvious to me this Raiders team hated Josh McDaniels. And I think that fueled the love affair of Antonio Pierce. And now I'm not super down on them. I just look at the division. I'm kind of higher than most on the Broncos. Obviously, I think the Chiefs are still going to be competitive. So for me, it's a tough needle to thread. I'm not super out, but I don't see this team as a playoff team.
Let me ask you a question. Little revisionist history.
Okay.
If when Dan Campbell takes over the Miami Dolphins interim job in 2015, if at the end of the year he's given the job instead of, do you remember Adam Gase? They went 10-6 with Adam Gase. We then learned how bad of a coach Adam Gase was. What if Dan Campbell keeps that job? We now learn that Dan Campbell might be a pretty good coach. Sure, he had 4 years under Peyton additionally to learn there, but I think Antonio Pierce to me is a little in that Dan Campbell where there's a little bit of that I can step out, in your face and prove it. And I'm willing to bet on it. Especially this is honestly the silliest handicap. And again, it started at the slot machine. I did have a tremendous run with the Raiders, and then it just got me thinking. I love Antonio Pierce, one of my favorite all-time Giants from that period of time, definitely. And yeah, why not Vegas is basically an adopted city. Sean, everything, the dots are connected.
The dots are connected. All right, Ryan, we got a special guest coming up here in just a second. Of course, shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code SGPN. Get a sweet deposit bonus up to $250 bonus cash. They got the, of course, Best Ball Mania $15 million up for grabs. The Pick'em. If you can somehow pull off an 11-0 heater, you can win 1000X, or you can just do the 8Xer and get 325X, or as simple as the 2-player Pick'em. Get you a nice return there in the 3X range, depending on if you're going with some of the spicy plays. We got tons of content giving you all the Underdog Fantasy picks you need, you love. And of course, underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Sports. Circa Sports and the Circa Million, Circa Survivor, 16 million in guaranteed prizes. Enter in Nevada. Play from anywhere. And of course, our official proxy, will be joining us in just a second. Vegas Matty, and of course, footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP, get you $50 off. Come out, sign up, enter in Nevada, play from anywhere. And why not come out contest weekend, August 22nd through the 24th? We get 15% off with the promo code SGP15. Joining us on the line from Las Vegas, the official proxy of SGPN for this football season, Vegas Matty. You got the sweet proxy hat on. What's happening, right, Matty?
Not much. I was just listening to your critique of the Raiders, and I think most of the stuff is pretty on. I mean, I do like the Antonio Pierce coaching comparison to Dan Campbell. I think that's spot on. I think their defense is going to be tremendous, led by this guy, Mr. Max Crosby.
Max Crosby. Yeah, we didn't even talk about Max.
Yeah, defensive player of the year this year. That's not a bad bet. The odds aren't great, but the problem is he can't play quarterback, guys. And I think in the draft, when we were talking about the draft and the selection of Brock Bowers, I popped on your draft night podcast, and we had talked about maybe Tom Brady coming out of retirement, and it didn't happen. It's not going to happen, and it's a shame because it's really going to hold back the offense. I think this year, having kind of the two-headed monster they have right now. I think that's going to be the downfall of the team.
Monster, I think, would be generous of that QB battle between Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell. Yeah, because I'm kind of torn. Yeah, I like Minshew. He's a fun guy. I don't know if he's a win you 10, 11 games in the regular season type of quarterback. No. Aidan O'Connell had a couple moments, but still super skeptical. Where are you at with the quarterback position for the Raiders? Are you like us, assuming Minshew is going to get the nod? How long of a leash does Minshew have? Or do you think Aidan O'Connell has a chance to win the job?
I think Aidan O'Connell's he's kind of the incumbent. He's going to come in there, and I think he's Antonio Pierce's guy going back to last year. I think if he would have started more games instead of Garoppolo last year, they might have won enough games to get in the playoffs. I know that's a little optimistic, but I mean, just the way they finished the year, I think the firing that happened last year, when it did spark the team, and Antonio Pierce deserves a lot of credit for that. Aidan O'Connell, he was a game manager. A lot of that's going to depend on the offensive line. That's why I do think, like, right out of the gates, they're going to want to put him in a position to see if he can go out and beat the Chargers in the first game. Now, if you guys remember last year, his first start game against the Chargers, he got sacked 6 times by Khalil Mack. And
Yes.
he still almost tied the game at the end. He threw a pick in the end zone that could have tied it. He played fairly well outside of getting sacked. I think the team sacked him 7 times overall, but Mack was just all over the place. And if you do remember, the Raiders kind of got a little revenge with that 63-21 Thursday night game. So it's going to be interesting to see how much that's on the players coming back, their minds in that season opener, to see if there's a little revenge out there and just how it's going to play out.
You humiliate a divisional opponent in prime time. I think that is going to be circled. And if there's anyone,
you don't think Harbaugh's going to use that?
Yeah, I mean, Jim Harbaugh seems like a guy, and they
Absolutely,
have months now looking ahead to this game going, they came in here, beat you 63-21. I think I hit Easton Stick first touchdown game. That was the highlight, at least for me, personally in that spot.
I think the other element that Antonio Pierce helps is, and I'm going to shamelessly tie this to my alma mater, Virginia Tech, but when the coach like resonates with the fan base, especially for a team,
especially the Raiders,
oftentimes a lot of their seats are rented by visiting fans. I think that could potentially make a difference, and especially when they travel to LA and some other cities where the Raiders have been before.
Yeah, so that's their home away from home.
It just seems like the crowd. And just, social, you looking at it through the lens of social and how much Raider merch is being sold at the LA grocery stores, it feels like the Raiders fans are feeling very good about this season as well. And so, I love the energy that Antonio Pierce is bringing. And Sean, Gardner Minshew played for Coach Leach, the ultimate pirate himself.
Yes.
Now Gardner Minshew gets to go to an actual team that's a pirate team in a pirate ship. And you're jumping off.
We'll see. I mean, we'll walk through the schedule here.
Come on.
But I think I think to Matt's point there, Matty, there's like a lot to like about this team, and I'm not totally out on Antonio Pierce. I just feel like that like next level for them to really jump up from their 8-9 season last year, I think is ultimately the quarterback is just not quite there.
And the Max Crosby talk, when we were discussing with Baldy.
Oh yeah.
He couldn't like more quickly want to talk about Max Crosby. So
Max Crosby
8-1 you can find out there in the defensive player of the year market.
He is one of the favorites, defensive player of the year, for good reason. I mean, the dude is a freaking beast. All right, Kramer, let's walk through the schedule, check in on the odds, see where we're at with this Las Vegas Raiders team. Win total sitting at 6.5. Make the playoffs only plus 102. Is that right?
Yeah, those odds have changed dramatically.
No,
tell you that much.
Those odds are wrong. We'll just go off the win total 6.5.
Yeah, no, the sheet's messed up.
Okay,
apologies.
Win total is set at 6.5. Kramer, let's walk through this schedule. What do we got going for the? We like to chop it up, Matt, in 4 blocks here. Although the NFL schedule really made it uneven when they had that 17th game.
Yeah, we have to do a 5-game fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. All right. So middle of the road strength of schedule, only favored twice. Again, we're in the range of, we've only been sifting through the quote unquote bad teams of the league, and being favored twice is pretty solid. Of course, in the AFC, Sean. So an extra road game this year, starting out with a home road game at Los Angeles and beautiful SoFi Stadium. Then at Baltimore, Carolina at home, Cleveland at home. I mean, I think you have some winnable games here, some very winnable games. I'm more than happy to be optimistic here.
Go for
3-1.
3-1. Wow.
I was gonna say 2-2 would be good enough to probably have Aidan O'Connell keep that job if he gets the start. I think that first game is so important, to be honest with you guys. I think if they can come out and win that game, especially after losing the first game to the Chargers last year, if they can come out and win that game, they're not going to beat the Ravens, but they come home 1-1. They beat the Panthers. They're 2-1 going to the Browns game. That's a winnable game. I mean, the 3-1 is possible. I thought 2-2 going into the Broncos game, because they're going to sweep the Broncos this year. There's no doubt about it.
I love this. I love that confidence.
All right. So you got them 2-2, Matty?
Yeah, I would say 2-2. That would be the best they could do, maybe, just because there's no way they're beating the Ravens. And I think the Browns is going to be a tough game. But if they can win that game and bring some momentum into that Broncos game, then they had a shot to make a little bit of a run there until they face the Chiefs in that big revenge game for calling out Kermit the Frog. That's going to bite him in the ass.
They really poked the bear there, as if Patrick Mahomes needed more motivation after losing to the Raiders on Christmas Day. It really made things not easier on them. I'll go 2-2. To me, I am worried if you're a Raiders backer. That Chargers game, I think Harbaugh is going to come in laser focused for that first game. So I think that could be a tough spot.
That's going to be the game where Harbaugh finds out he doesn't have a home crowd, and he's going to get so irritated by the fact that he doesn't have a home crowd. It's going to actually physically distract him. Imagine him with his like straight posture, just like looking around the stadium, like, did we get on a plane? Why? What's going on here?
Playing Ohio State that first game on the road.
Another thing to note here, Sean, the Browns game. Not only do the Browns have a crazy stretch where they get 4 road games in 5 weeks, starting in week 2, but this game against Las Vegas represents the first. Remember, we talked about this in the Commanders episode. The first of a 3-game road trip. Yeah, Deshaun Watson on an extended road trip that starts in Vegas. Happy to fade that.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no temptation in Vegas that could be distracting.
We need more players like Lawrence Taylor. Like, you got to send all the distractions right to their hotel. All right, the next 4: at Denver, Pittsburgh at home, back to SoFi. So they play 2 games in the first 7 weeks in SoFi Stadium, and then Kansas City at home week 8. Of course, that will be a tough matchup. I do like how Antonio Pierce says it's been dealt with, won't happen again. We're focused on moving forward. It's like, all right, yep, I believe you. A little bit of a tougher stretch in some regard here. I think for the divisional games, I almost just want to chop them. So go 3-3, not overthink it. I am a Steelers. The Steelers game is interesting because typically I would say they're going to have a nice crowd here, but I wonder with the Antonio Pierce situation, I want to go 2-2 here.
Well, they had a home game against the Steelers recently, and the Steelers Nation really showed up.
That's
what
I mean.
They did, yeah.
Antonio Pierce is it's like, I do feel like the crowd might be different. I'll say 2-2 here. They steal a road game and they beat the Steelers.
I'm not quite as optimistic. I'm going to go 1-3. I think at Mile High. I know Matty's optimistic, but I'm a little higher on the Broncos than market. I think Steelers at home is a tough matchup. I actually think at Rams might be an intriguing win for them. I think
another home game for them.
Yeah, I think I don't think they're going to beat the Chiefs, and I think between Broncos, Steelers, and Rams they get 1. I think they're kind of 1-2 there. I think that could be some tough matchups for them. But Matty, how do you see that 4-game block going?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's another 2-2 on my side. I do think something important to keep in mind with the Steelers game is that you might have Justin Fields as the quarterback going against Getsy.
Yeah.
And Getsy knows him better than anyone. He's going to be able to give a little intel to his head coach. And I don't know. Although Fields did beat the Raiders, it was one of the ugliest, worst games I've ever gone to in my life.
That's bad.
13-10 Bears over the Raiders. We had an Andy Dalton appearance briefly, and it was just an awful game. But the Bears did win, and at that point, I knew Derek Carr was on his way out because I was like, "There's no way he can lose a home game
to
like
Justin
this
Fields."
Yeah.
Kramer, what do we got for this next 4?
All right, we got at Cincinnati, then I guess kind of in the middle of the season bye, at Miami, Denver at home, their second game where they're favored. And then Kansas City on Black Friday. This 3 games on the road here.
Just shaking his head.
This feels like maybe
that's going to kill the season.
It's a bit of a skids here, maybe. I think I'm not as optimistic here.
What are you doing, Kramer?
I said I was going to chop the Chiefs games, which means I have to give them a win here. So 2-2. 2-2. I'm very optimistic.
2-2. Okay, so you got them 7-5. I'm with Matty shaking his head. I think this is a brutal stretch for them. I'll go 1-3, But again, they have 3 road games where they're almost a touchdown dog in each of them.
Yeah, so 2-2 seems right.
So maybe, but at KC on Black Friday, I don't see it. I think their best.
You're right.
Chance,
1-3. 1-3.
I think their best chance is probably going to be at the Dolphins after the bye. But I think some of that Raiders weakness in the secondary could get exposed with Tyreek Hill on the back end. So I got to go 1-3 here for the Raiders. What about you, Matty? What do you see in this 4-block?
Yeah,
stretch?
I see 1-3. There's no way they're losing to the Broncos, but the other 3 games are going to be ugly. And I think this is the turning point of the season for them, just because it was around that time last year where McDaniels got canned and they made a run. I think this opposite could happen in this spot where things go south and they start thinking about that number 1 pick in the draft. So where they need a quarterback. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm normally a homer in these, with this team, but this year, just with the way the quarterback situation is, I think it's going to be both guys playing, bouncing back and forth throughout the season. And I think that's going to end up costing them, especially in those games where they got to score, 28, 30 points to try to win a game. I just don't see it happening.
The chat is I see Shark in the chat, just
Shout
absolutely
out to Shark.
Seems like he's not a fan of the Raiders. I
he
dare him to say that to Antonio Pierce's face.
He loves the spot for the Chargers, which I see. I mean, especially saying this is a hammer spot for the Chargers, polar opposite to every late season win for the Raiders last year. From a competitive and motivational standpoint.
Hello.
Shark's going to be coming on later. He's going to be breaking down the Ravens. Will be interesting. Ravens Chiefs week 1.
With those looks, how can I focus on football?
I know you're going to be distracted, Ryan. Last 5 games. This is an interesting close.
Yeah, I will say it at Tampa Falcons on Monday Night Football. Interesting selection there. Did they know something ahead of time about this? Is this like a Penix Bowl? Are we getting a Penix Bowl in week 16 against the Jags at Saints week 17, and then they close it out against the Chargers in Vegas? I mean, this whole stretch, the spread is less than a field goal. So you could argue these are all coin flips. Yeah.
When the time comes, man, those are going to be all 3 or more for the opposition. I guarantee it.
I like the Jags, the Saints also to be sliding in the wrong direction though. So it's hard for me to get worse than 2-3 here. Sean, what am I at right now? I don't want to be incredibly
2-3. You would close it out at 8-9.
Oh no, then 3-2.
3-2. So you got him closing out 3-2, going 9-8. I'm gonna stick to 2-3 here. Maybe Matty's pessimism's rubbing off on me, but I think this team could kind of hit a wall, and I just don't. I don't think I'm being crazy to say I don't see high-level quarterback play sustained from Aidan McConnell and Gardner Minshew. Whatever that combo ends up being, I'm just super skeptical that it's going to run 17 games, and kind of the magic that Antonio Pierce had. I think there are going to be some spots where maybe they're a frisky dog, but I think season long, 6-11 sounds about right. And maybe they're gonna have to move up to get that top quarterback in the draft. Matty, you got them 5-7 going into these last 5 games. How do you
I'm
see
right
them
there with
shaking
you,
out?
though. Yeah, I think the 6-11 is probably pretty fair. I see like a 1-4 down the stretch here.
Oh wow.
Again, like if they go 1-3 in those previous 4 games, and then they visit Tampa Bay, and then that Atlanta game, the Penix Bowl, I guarantee you they would have taken him. That's the quarterback, the player they wanted. They got Bowers. I love Bowers, but you need someone to throw to him. So, I think the most interesting game is the Derek Carr Bowl in week 17, where they could potentially knock the Saints out of playoff contention. I was thinking, it'd be awesome if that game meant like a playoff spot for one of the 2 teams, but I think the Saints have the better shot between the 2 of them, and I would love to see them. I'd love to see Crosby kick Carr's ass and just wipe them all over the field. So that would be a win. That would make the season at that point.
My prediction is the Saints will get eliminated from the playoffs the game before, and then that's when Derek Carr shows up, because that's historically when he does his best work, when all the pressure is off.
Exactly.
If there's a playoff spot on the line, I feel like I might be hammering the Raiders there.
Yeah, why not? We'll see what happens.
You're making a lot of sense. Upgrade me to 4-1 in that last stretch, Sean. I
Wow.
have the Saints as a loss.
All right, 10-7.
Let's go.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, but we're going to talk our best bets around the corner. Of course, shout out to Odds Jam. If you're going to get down on some of these Raiders futures bets, either fading them, riding them, whatever it is, you got to use Odds Jam. They scan all the books, U.S. and Canadian, to make sure you get the best prices. Best prices obviously are a huge part of cashing in and doing it consistently. They also even have the data from Bet Online, Bovada, and they got a really awesome arbitrage tool, one of the best arbitrage tools in the business, showing you spots where you can play both sides of a line and guarantee yourself a positive ROI. They even have a new fantasy tool. If you're looking to play Underdog Fantasy Pick'em, they have a tool that highlights the best EV plays as well there. If you're interested in trying out Odds Jam, get a 7-day free trial by using the link below or using the promo code SGPN, oddsjam.com, promo code SGPN, get you 7 days free and 35% off your first month. And of course, hopefully you guys have already signed up for Rhythm. That's right. Rhythm is your tool for AI picks, props, projections. Their football model about to drop. It's great. You can customize your own model, come up with your own picks, or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting. Either way, they got you covered. They've been killing it with golf right now. I know they're chomping at the bit to get back to WNBA. I've been giving out a lot of winners there. And like I said, college football, NFL models about to drop. You don't want to miss it. Get your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Matty, enjoy having you on the show. I also, and of course, Matty is our proxy. If you're playing Circa Survivor, if you're playing Circa Millions, hit up Matty, footballcontestproxy.com. I'm sure you can hit him up on Twitter. Use that promo code SGP, get you $50 off your proxy fees. Matty, have you had what is your biggest winner been in your days of proxying? I think our buddy Chris Farley Betts, he hit a nice check. I don't know if you were his proxy at the time.
Yeah, we were. He finished fifth that year. He won 6 figures. We did have, I think it was the same year, we had a Survivor winner, so he won $1.533 million. So we're looking to get back and have another big, huge winner. So we have yet to get that Circa Million winner. So hopefully one of you guys will be carrying that big check at the end of the season.
We got you covered this season, Matty. My goal is to have
we got this.
The holding a giant check with Derek in my profile photo, and then Ryan.
No, I want the picture of the stack of chips.
Well, so that I've already planned it in my head. I don't know if I'm jinxing it, but there's going to be a video of me walking up to the casino cage in that line with the giant check, and then trying to slide it underneath the cage, the bars there, to see if they'll cash the check in house. I'm sure they will.
Oh, of course they will. Derek will be upset he had to spend money on the big check, though.
Matty, that also, there's 2 running
Let
jokes.
me know in advance if you want to just take the chips.
Us asking Derek what's the lowest amount of money we could win, where he would still give us a giant check, and then he's like running the call. He's like, those giant checks aren't cheap, or
they're not.
I know.
And transporting them. Getting them home. I mean, you guys, to be able to get them home, you either got to buy a seat for it on the plane or put it on top of the car. Trust me, we've had a couple guys that have won big checks that they've just given up on trying to get it sent to them. We've had a couple booby prize winners too, which is 100 G's, which is very nice. And we had the first booby prize winner that I reached out to. I was holding his check for him for like the last few years. And we just moved recently, and I had to get the thing out of my house. And I said, do you still want the check? And I got it priced out. It was going to cost like over $400 to ship this check to him. So his wife said, my wife's not going to let me put it up anywhere, so just get rid of it. So I ended up just getting rid of it, which is sad, because the big checks are super cool, but when it comes down to it, it's either going to find space in your office or in the garage somewhere. And if you don't have a place for it, like, what are you going to do with it? Because you can't cash it ultimately.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of that scene of Happy Gilmore where he's like has his back seat just full of the checks because he keeps asking, can I just get the check now? Great scene. All right, Kramer, let's talk futures. I do like the under 6.5. I think the division is tough. Again, I think ultimately it comes down to the quarterback play. Like there's going to be some spots, but I'm skeptical of the quarterback play. There are some markets where I'm optimistic on the Raiders. One, we've talked about this one. I do think there is going to be a ton of volume for Zamir White. I do think he's a pretty decent talent. So Zamir White to lead the league in rushing yards, 25-1, I think is fun. And
there's still 30-1s out there. Sean.
Okay, so shop around. I'll give myself a 30-1 here.
Can I also sprinkle on top the rushing touchdowns?
What's the touchdown?
70-1.
I'll just stick yards.
I'll take the touchdowns.
Okay. You got Zamir White's most rushing
That's a nice
touchdown.
Parlay them together, guys.
Yeah. Ooh. That I don't know. I don't know if all places allow you to do it, but that would be a pretty sweet.
That would be a fun. Oops, we shouldn't have let you do that.
And there is a ceiling case for Brock Bowers at 45-1, most rookie receiving yards. So I think the top dogs, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors. I mean, would you be shocked if Brock Bowers is the number 2? He gets a ton of volume and racks up a bunch of receiving yards. I would not be shocked.
I like the touchdowns, guys. Look at that 4.5. I think that's probably of all those underdog plays, the props, that was the one I liked the most. The thing about Zamir is if you look at his history, he had a great run at the end of last year, but he's not used to carrying a full load for a season. When he was at Georgia, he was splitting time. He was backing up Jacobs here for a while. I like the guy. I think he's very talented, but I think he's going to break down at some point, and I just don't think he could be the guy. I think Madison will play quite a bit, especially on passing downs, so that to just try to keep him fresh. So that's the one thing, even in fantasy football, I've been a sucker who's taken Zamir White the last couple of years in drafts, hoping Jacobs would get hurt. The one year I didn't do it was I dropped him last year, like right before he picked up steam and took over. But I just would be a little leery about playing too many of his props over.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that was before he got super jacked, though, Matty. I mean, those off-season photos. It reminds me of PC Principal in South Park. Like he just is insanely jacked. So yeah, I will co-sign Matty's underdog play. Brock Bowers higher, 4.5 receiving touchdowns. I think that one's pretty good. And then the under 6.5 wins. There's none of the future stuff to me is that interesting. The miss playoffs, the division stuff.
I got some tickets over.
Oh, what do you got?
You want to hear what I got in the pocket already?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting on Antonio Pierce, Coach of the Year.
Okay, what is that price?
28-1.
Okay.
It's probably a harder case, but it also could be the strongest case possible if they actually show up.
Well, the thing is that he almost blew it by winning 5 games last year, coming in for Josh McDaniels, because to win Coach of the Year, you have to win 4 or 5 more games than you did previously, and they were 8 and 9.
But if they make a run at the Chiefs,
okay,
that's probably
28-1. All right.
Yeah, if they make the playoffs, guys, he's got to be in the conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think just he will have like the rah aspect of him. And the fact that it's the Raiders, like there's an element there of like the narrative that we always like to monitor, where I think he becomes very interesting. I also think he's pretty well liked. That's important with these things.
Players love him, that's for sure.
And I think the media too. He's been nice to the media. So if it comes down to the award voting at the end, I think he will have a good case going for him. Any other futures you got, Ryan?
Well, the only ticket I have on a true like -110 player prop is that Zamir White rushing touchdown, because I think the angle is even if you think he's going to split time, there's going to be Labe or whatever the rookie Madison, he's going to be the goal line back. It seems very clearly, and I like him to get a chance to prove that he can carry the workload. So. Yeah, 4.5 touchdowns seemed very low. Unless this team is just complete trash, which it sounds like that's in the range of possibilities. I would say, that's like I said, it's the only true -110 player prop I have in my pocket right now.
What about you, Matty? Any player prop? I know you mentioned you like the higher 4.5 receiving touchdowns for Brock Bowers over an underdog. Any traditional like futures you're playing here for the Raiders?
Well, I think there's one very interesting I just saw on BetMGM, which is the Raiders to lose all their road games at 14-1.
Oh,
So
really?
that's interesting because I think the only real winnable one is the Broncos game. To be honest with you, I think that's going to be the deciding factor in whether you cash that bet. But the rest of them, I mean, their road schedule is really tough. If they beat the Chargers in that first game, there's going to be a lot of hype on them, I think, and it's going to make that Baltimore game a little bit more interesting. But again, if they can come home 1-1, that will be a success in my eyes. And I think Devontae, I love him. He's one of my favorite players in the league, but I think the hospital ball, which was kind of that term was thrown around last year with Jimmy Garoppolo, that has been the case during training camp as well. They've talked about that both quarterbacks have kind of been setting him up to get hurt. And I think that's one of those things where Devontae can catch anything. There's no doubt about it. But if you're just going to throw it up there and hope that he can come down to it, he's a warrior. He played as hard as he could last year, but man, I mean, just get him a damn quarterback to finish his career again. Like it's tough because their receiving core, I like their skill position guys. I think the offensive line is going to be key, but like Devontae, I don't know if he's gonna be the same as he has been the first couple of years with the Raiders. Especially they've got more guys to throw to as well. They got the 2 tight ends. They got Mayer and Bowers now, and Jacoby Myers was very good last year as well. So, and they really like Trey Tucker as well. I think you're going to hear his name a lot as a deep threat, and that's all going to take away from Devontae. You can't throw the ball to him 20 times and hope he catches 10 of them. You know,
Trey Tucker could be an interesting first touchdown bet.
I see what Matty's doing here. He's just it's a little
motivation.
He's zigzagging.
Well, he knows how Antonio Pierce works. He just wants to get this quote framed, and so they have some bulletin board material.
I'll give them all they need. Yeah, exactly, like everyone else.
Well, I mean, you look at Devontae Adams he hasn't missed a game since 2020, 16 games in Green Bay, 17 both seasons with the Raiders. He's had 4 seasons in a row where he had 100 catches or more. To Matty's point, like knock on wood, he can keep it going. We took him in our best ball league, Ryan, but I think part of that was where we got him at in the second round. I'm optimistic because he's just such a beast, but man, if he hit the wall here a little bit and got banged up, I wouldn't be shocked. So hopefully he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean he's very fun. I draft him a lot because he can. I mean, again, I will fondly think about his years with Green Bay when Luke Getsy was in the wide receiver room. So I listened to a solid like 25 minutes of Luke Getsy today. Just listen.
That was his career year.
I wanted to hear him talk about the offense, and I will say he does perk up when he talks about Z, aka Zamir White. And he talks about how incredibly awesome Devontae Adams is.
Raiders fans just going Zeus.
I'm in. I'm here for it.
Any other futures, Ryan, as the official Raiders fan of this podcast? Any other positive Raiders bets?
No. I mean, I will say there's a chance that next time, if I have a nice slot run when we're out in Vegas next week, I will probably bet Devontae Adams most receiving yards in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean,
he can win MVP. 300 to 1
offensive player of the year. You can talk.
Well, yeah, MVP can throw out the window.
Yeah. What is
50 to 1 offensive player of the year? That's I can tell you that the circa price is like I think 100 to 1 at least.
Okay.
So we'll have to update that one. And then I don't know. Do you think he has a chance to lead the league in yards, Sean?
I would go touchdowns before yards, but
just got to think about who's going to get the ball to him. That to me is the biggest problem. And I would swap the record and say 11
just
and
hates
6.
The quarterbacks. It's great.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with the team.
Touchdowns is 25 to 1.
And what is yards?
22 to 1.
Yeah, I would like touchdowns better. But to Matty's point, they're going to suck because their quarterbacks suck.
Yeah, again, Zamir White 4.5 touchdowns. That seems fair.
All right, close it out. If we can pull up the best bets for the episode officially, I'm on a slight fade of the Raiders. Nothing drastic. 6-11.
I can't believe you.
What? Ryan, come on. We can't be like Colby and take every team's over.
No, it's just it's a clear sign that we should be on the Raiders this season.
Kramer's on the over 6.5 wins. I'm on the under 6.5. Matty has him 6-11. Does like the Brock Bowers 4.5 receiving touchdowns. Kramer coming in super high 10-7. Zamir White rushing touchdowns higher 4.5. And I do still think Zamir White has a shot for the yards. The Brock Bauer rookie leader stuff I think is interesting. The receptions market isn't out. I might take a look at that later down the line, but yeah, he could be interesting and certainly probably a fun fantasy play there as well. Matty, appreciate you hopping on the show. We'll be seeing you contest weekend. We'll be signing up. And of course, anyone listening that's playing a contest, go to footballcontestproxy.com, use the promo code SGP, hit up Matty, go sign up in person, and maybe you'll have one of those giant checks.
Yeah, I would say we do have footballcontestproxy.com, but footballcontest.com is the main website. And the URL that you want to go to for the discount is proxy.footballcontest.com. So didn't want to correct you earlier, but if you go to proxy.footballcontest.com, and then footballcontest.com is the website with all the information on the Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and the Super Contest.
How many can you sign? What's the max on Survivor this year?
10.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. How many are we doing, Sean? 2? At least
20.
2.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, because there's like I want to give out a Survivor path on the air,
3.
and then one where we improvise. Yeah, we're definitely going to be signing up a bunch, and the contest weekend
4?
should be a lot of fun. Yeah, just keep going, right?
Put me
keep
down
going.
for 5.
Well, Matty, appreciate you hopping on the air.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, the second the money green. He's Ryan.
Oh, I can't believe you're going against the Raiders.
Kramer, let it ride.